What's up, Samir? I got a new business idea. And
Tell me.
I got to tell you, the new idea is to smuggle baby formula in containers from Mexico and Canada into the U.S.
You're like, I swear to God, this is baby formula.
I mean, there has to be a black market is going to emerge pretty soon. And if we don't get on it, we're going to miss out. This is the first wave of NFTs. This is the first wave of crypto. This is, if you're a scammer, if you're a grifter, we got to do the Walter White thing and come up with our own baby formula and start making that here in this Williamsburg apartment. Because I have access to the basement and we could totally set up something down there.
I love it.
Yeah, because there's a basement. The basement to my building is attached to a former restaurant that doesn't work right now, but they have all the ventilation we need to make that product primo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now all we need to do is get in on the supply chain.
Yeah. What are the baby formula precursors? That's really so. Anyway, I'm just this is my jump in, check in.
Hell yeah. This is what you're saying is so crazy and real because there is the baby formula shortage right now, and it is very real for me. 3 months ago, somebody told me there was a shortage, and I really didn't believe it or even know about it, and I had no problem getting baby formula at the moment. So I didn't think to stock up. And now there is such a shortage, I can't find it from anywhere that I used to get it. And we are a hybrid formula and a breast milk family. And
half and half, you might say.
Or even half and half. That's amazing. Well, no, actually the ratio is lower. But it's important. We need the formula. We have to have it because you never know. Breast milk can dry up. Things can happen and interrupt that. And you have to feed your kids. And they can't just eat solids or whatever now.
Yeah, you
So
can't
they
be
rely
giving
on
your.
that.
I've seen the steaks on your Instagram. No matter how small you chop up the meat, resin more
It's not
aren't going to be able to gum it down.
Yeah, gum it down. I'm gonna have to start pureeing all the food. But yeah, so it started becoming a problem a few weeks ago. I survived the first wave of it. I thought it was temporary, like anything in this country. You go, this is impossible. This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
This has to be just a thing that's gonna get sorted out within a week. Let's not worry about it. But it's getting more and more dire.
I mean, there's no way that the country that created the atomic bomb, the country that has $42 billion to give to Ukraine, there's no way that this country would run out of baby formula.
Right. And they did. Absolutely. Oh, here's one amazing part of it.
Yeah.
So Abbott Pharmaceuticals produces Similac, Enfamil, other formulas. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some things that the listeners should know right now about formula. This is really important. And this is a cheat sheet for understanding this crisis. So formula has to pass some sort of FDA regulation, but formula, the stuff that goes in it, is almost ubiquitous across brands. So if you have a kid who has a sensitive stomach, there's a specific formula for that when they're not tolerant of lactose or anything similar.
Yeah.
And those formulas are very fucked up because they are made with corn syrup. So almost immediately at birth, you're putting non-hydrogenated like corn syrup in your kid.
You're
You're basically
mainlighting.
like, hey, did you have diabetes at birth? No? Okay, here you go. Here's diabetes.
Yeah. Oh man, which is just a kickback to the corn industry.
Oh, sure.
Right, because they got to find a way to use all that extra corn,
Yeah.
that
So, like,
surplus high fructose corn syrup, baby, which is now
Yes.
in all products.
stuff it in a newborn's mouth. Right? And so that to me is fucked. And then there is the formula that most kids eat, call it lactose tolerant kids eat, which is the same formula almost across the board, right? So the generic version is available at Costco. It's available at BJ's Wholesale, Target, etc. So what happened was Similac, the Abbott Pharmaceuticals place, had an outbreak of some fucked up disease, and the
Like a
processing
bacteria.
a
Yeah.
bacteria that was killing kids.
Sure.
And so they had to do a
Bad for
massive
business.
recall. They had to do a massive recall, which enough kids died where they're like, all right, we've known about this, but let's rent it on in.
Yeah, this is like, it's like in Fight Club. Ed Norton's character, his job was to see how many people would die from car crashes
Right before.
before the lawsuits would be too much for the auto company, right? In the same way, I'm sure like
Same
Abbott
thing.
had their own accountant who was
Yeah.
like crunching the numbers and being like, okay, we can lose 15 little Cabbage Patch Kids, but
Yes,
once we hit
exactly.
15, that's the point
That's
of no,
it.
yeah, the
They're like,
ceiling.
the lawsuits are going to outweigh the cost of the recall.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, if you've listened to this podcast, through tort reform, that's not even true. So they would probably just let 100,000 kids die, but it is what it is. They don't want to inspire mistrust of the brand inevitably.
Sure.
So they're like, what's the tolerable level of mistrust and kids dying where we have to call the stuff back?
I love that there's new metrics that have nothing to do with real numbers, but have to do with your perception.
Yeah.
It's like, how much mistrust can we handle?
Yeah. Before we go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they start calling back the formula, and then it leads to chaos where now the formula people were buying, they can't get because it's recalled. Or people were throwing out the formula that they had because it was part of the batch that could have been tainted. So now they have to buy a bunch of formula that they already had, but now that's useless and spoiled technically or recalled. So they have to go find more. So it's a perfect storm of a funnel of everyone going to get formula. Then you have opportunists in America who got a whiff of this formula shortage and went out willy-nilly and started just buying pallets of formula and hoarding it.
Yeah, like the guy who bought what was it? At the beginning of the pandemic, this dude bought a garage full of Lysol and Wipies and toilet paper, and then couldn't. And then the world saw that and was just appalled by him. But it's totally legal to do it.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, I am doing arbitrage. I'm buying right now, and there will be none available, and I'm going to sell it to you." And so now there is just people selling formula for savage prices, scalping formula because kids cannot survive without it. They're not going to eat a grilled cheese sandwich. The only thing they can eat is formula, and there isn't any of it. So it's become a really disastrous situation, and it's exactly like you said. We have $42 billion to give to the Ukraine. I mean,
I made that number up too, but also
who knows?
I'm sure it's billions.
It's probably billions, yeah.
No, it's
But-
100% billions. But
Sure, but
it might be 4 billion. For
let's
all I
be
know.
honest, though. They are taking money that they allocated to Afghanistan. We talked about this on the podcast. I'm seeing the reality of it. My mom's working with Afghani refugees in Worcester, Mass right now.
Yeah.
And they're telling my mom that there's such savage food insecurity in Afghanistan, and it doesn't matter anymore because the money that was going to feed those people who helped the U.S. government in Afghanistan is yanked. It's going to Ukraine. It's being quote unquote redirected. So we leave Afghanistan, promise all this aid for people. Don't worry, you won't starve to death. We're going to leave you some money to be able to eat and stuff. They yanked that. People are starving to death in Afghanistan, right? And they're giving the money to Ukraine. But what about food insecurity in the United States? There are 40 million people in the United States that suffer from food insecurity. That's a shame. And now there's a formula shortage.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now there's a bunch of people hoarding it. And, the savvy ones are down at the Fulton Street Mall right now. They've stopped selling incense and they've started cutting Similac into quarter portions.
Yeah, they're like, yo, I got these 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
they're like, I have one dose of Similac for your kid. Blue tops.
So that's it's horrifying, and maybe they should just they should nationalize some factories to make baby formula and make it a universal thing.
And make it a universal standard of quality too.
Yeah.
So people can't cut the quality in the supply chain to make out like a bandit compared to someone else.
And I heard that there's European companies that also make the baby formula, but they can't sell it in the US because it's not FDA approved.
Exactly.
And that's so interesting because we have this crisis, this shortage, and there is a supply of the product, but we can't get it because of bureaucratic red tape. And this is similar. This reminds me of in Puerto Rico when Hurricane Maria wiped out everything. You know, the electric grid and all of their ability to get supplies, but because of our trade agreements with Puerto Rico, since it's a colony,
Right.
was that even like the Dominican Republic couldn't just directly send them goods. It had to go through ports in the U.S.
Right. And
to
then
get
be
there
redirected to them.
and get exorbitantly taxed and adding extra tariffs and fines. So, like, yeah, this is a situation like that where the product exists. It's not that we are out of baby formula. It's just that Abbott has been knocked out of the game
Right.
for now, temporarily.
Temporarily. And now everyone must suffer because of some stupid shit. And exactly what you're saying, Gabe. The Biden administration is suffering so much right now. Everyone keeps saying they're handing the election over to MAGA chuds, and they absolutely are, because he started talking about the surplus in every city and talking about how he wants to allocate that to hiring more cops and more law enforcement in cities with the surplus money rather than infrastructure, rather than address food insecurity. He's not going to talk about food insecurity until September. Like, what? Talk about it today.
Yeah.
And so what I'm talking about is he doesn't give a fuck about the formula shortage, and it is affecting everyone across class lines. Really.
A whole
But I mean,
generation
Yeah.
of children
Yeah.
who could end up malnourished. And for every woman who is breastfeeding, the minute that you stop, or like rather, if
Yeah.
you stop, you can't just turn the spigots back on.
Yeah, you can. You can.
So anyone who is not breastfeeding now, or quit, a month ago for whatever reason, those kids are gonna starve if they can't get the formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this kind of the war on women, that's part of it, and the Roe v. Wade is another part of it,
Yeah.
right? And we're seeing the Democrats unable to protect the moms and the women in this country.
And that's the
So-
best part, because they're absolutely able to, but it's not their fight because they're on the same team. And they don't give a shit because they have access to everything. They have access to this formula. Okay, charge $500 a thing of formula.
Oh, you
They'll
mean
buy it.
wealthy Democrats?
Yeah.
Yes.
Limousine liberals. That's who controls the country right now.
Yes.
And they're morons. And that's the whole thing. They're the type of people who are, everything has its price, and I'll buy it at that exorbitant price because I have $60 million from insider trading. That's the Democrats. So they're out of touch. They don't understand what's going on. They do, but they don't give a fuck. They're more sociopath than ignorant, but they don't care about women. They never did. They never did.
Yeah.
Just because they march on Washington with a pink pussy hat on, like Elaine from Seinfeld or whatever, let's not be stupid. Elaine from Seinfeld is a multi-billionaire and was.
Started as one.
Yes.
Yes.
And so everyone's sharing the clip of her holding a sign that if, like, men could get pregnant, you would get an abortion at an ATM. Well, it's 2022, so men can get pregnant, number one. And number two, yeah, fucking, you're a billionaire. So I love, like, you coming down to our world for a minute. Like, you could just hire someone to helicopter out to your house and give you a correct abortion.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
There's people who have no fucking option.
Uber MD.
Yeah, Uber MD.
And that
Uber MD in the middle of the ocean, maritime law. You can have double abortions.
Yeah,
in
you
maritime law.
get just hop on the Blade, which is the Uber for helicopters, with your Uber doctor, and they show up to your Uber mansion in the Hamptons.
And just do the damn thing.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
But yeah, there are
And get a
people-
nose job at the same time.
Exactly. Like, while we're going under.
What else would you like?
Yeah. But it fucking sucks, man. It's like, this is a class war. We talk about class war on halal cartels. If you're not paying attention thematically, you'll realize that class war is a subject. And There are people who have no options. They have no options, and they're the ones who are getting fucked. And it's all in the grand scheme of keeping things in order, right? Like, this country is predicated on a zero-sum game. It would fall to fucking pieces if for someone to win and others had to lose wasn't a thing. That's how it is. It's class war. It's been class war. It's the cast of characters is changing. The theme remains the same. We're realizing it right now. And
Yeah.
the formula shortage is that thing.
Well, what are you doing now? Because you got two, and are they?
I mean, scouring the earth for a formula.
Yeah.
So I want to say this. So one thing, amazing thing that people should know. Any listeners from New York, if you have kids, I really sincerely believe in and validate the Facebook parent groups because people have been extremely helpful, extremely kind. When we first ran out of formula and we couldn't find it anywhere over a month ago, I was horrified, and I went on the parents board to ask, does anyone know where to find formula? And people literally told me, I have an extra thing of it. My kid no longer eats formula. It's yours for free. And then I went and picked it up, and they brought it down, and it was sealed and everything. And so I got like 2 canisters of formula. Then my parents found some where they lived, and I went and picked it up from them. So
you gotta smurf it. You got
yeah. You know, I'm like, you gotta have a plug, bro.
Yeah,
If you want formula, you better know the plug. That's it.
I get it, dude. Pusha T's next album.
Exactly. Formula. Pusha T's. That has to be the line on the description of the podcast. Pusha T gets into formula.
Yeah, dude. That's that new white stuff, dude. That's what we want.
Now I gotta find an agency to do a PSA about this and get Pusha T to do a rap about it.
Wu-Tang puts out a Cream remix.
No.
2022, baby.
Cash rules everything around me.
Yeah.
Get the formula. $1 bills, y'all.
So, gosh. Anyway, that the war on women, but some women, they're making it, they're doing it, they're breaking the glass ceiling. My new favorite lady out here, she's been in the news before, but I read this Rolling Stone article on the CIA queen of torture, Alfreda Scheuer, and after she left the CIA, she started working as a beauty blogger. So, what a pivot. What a pivot. And I love this stuff. So if anyone isn't aware of Alfreda Scheuer, she was the inspiration for the protagonist. Zero Dark 30. So she's out here waterboarding dudes, like, doing whatever they did, electroshocks, fingernails getting pulled out, all that stuff. And now she's pivoting into like helping you with your 11 lines.
She's like, did you know that insurgents' blood and tears can be used in an elixir that could really lift the bags under your eyes?
Yeah, how are your saggy jowls? Spending some late nights with some interrogating your lover in an enhanced manner. Staying up late, scouring his Instagram and stalking him. Well, maybe you can use some of this $250 beauty serum made with human stem cells.
Made with the blood of Iraqi children. They love it. They love it.
The sort of government official to the most banal fake MLM style
just
industry.
Yeah.
Right?
IG reinvent yourself.
Yeah, I mean, at least like have the dignity if you are a former government agent to pivot into working as a consultant for Lockheed Martin or Blackwater,
right?
Which are equally bad. But there's something so like this is just the ultimate depressing thing.
It harkens like Barry vibes. Like I'm an assassin, but I want to be an actor.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. It's the same as somebody who's like already a multimillionaire actor or something who then decides to get into stand-up.
It's my favorite, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
Or it's like T.I.
Like Jeremy
getting into
Piven?
Yes,
You're like, stop it. You're Ari Gold. You're not gonna be doing time at like Gotham right now.
Yeah, where's your dignity? Where is your dignity? So anyway, this assassin should be hiding in the shadows forever, like with Henry Kissinger, but instead she's out here hawking beauty products.
Oh, and I love it because the guy who invented those torture tactics,
Yeah.
he lives in the bayou, or no, he lives in Florida in the swamps in the Everglades, and he kayaks all the time. And my dream is that he just gets overtaken by a bunch of gators and rip him to shreds. But he's like exactly like her. I regret none of it. It was great. It netted out valuable intel, which absolutely never did.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it
Yeah.
got people killed. That's the best part. These people, her and that dude, are like MacGruber, where he's just like getting entire battalions of people killed, and his moronic ideas like are just getting people murdered. And then he walks away. He's like, I don't know. We had lost a lot of good people that day.
It's like,
It's like you did that.
if I guess if you want to reduce worry lines, kill your conscience.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you those worry lines are from all the ghosts that haunt you in the evening.
Yeah, man.
Love
So what a nightmare. And this is just part of our regular rogues gallery of the CIA updates.
it. Yeah, of course.
So
I kind of want to make it a running thing every episode. They're just giving us too much to run with, but
well, these are like the Northern Virginia ghouls that she's part of this military industrial complex, and they all live in Arlington in Old Town, Virginia, and they work at the Pentagon, and they work for the government, and then after they leave the government, they immediately get jobs working for these companies. And like, well, Jen Psaki, she's not going to work. She's leaving the Biden administration to go work at MSNBC from one being a mouthpiece for propaganda in one place to another place doing the same thing.
it's amazing. And there were people that I know in my personal life who told me, Jim Psaki is leaving? That's so sad. I'm like, Jen
What?
Psaki was handing the election over to the GOP every time she opened her fucking mouth.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, I also don't think that whoever is the White House press secretary you do not need qualifications. What's wild is that they tell you what these people's background was. Like, your job is to read the official party memo.
Yeah,
out
and
loud.
not break character.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
you in fact don't want somebody who is qualified and smart and a critical thinker.
Yeah, you want Sean Spicer.
Yeah, man. So honestly, like they're the new lady, they're bringing her in, and it's like, they said she was an activist, she's gay, she's black, and it's like, well, honestly, I actually think less of her now.
Yeah.
That she comes from this pedigree of like kind of cool, like identity wise, cool stuff.
Then she's gonna be like, we should have the surplus go to law enforcement.
Yeah, her fall from grace is
Yeah.
is further from her credentials to
Right.
actually having to be a mouthpiece for like a bullshit administration that's run by some Gerber baby food brained Alzheimer's patient.
Dude.
And like, yo, I know we shouldn't be ageist, but I'm gonna be ageist, man.
You have
if
to.
you're like
The
79,
guy can barely say one sentence in under 60 seconds.
yeah, dude, get these like geriatric mummified Immortan Joes out of office.
Yeah.
And even if he was competent, it's like the dude's got like 4 years left in life. Does he really care about making the world better? Nah, son, he's checking out, man. He's just waiting for the credits to end.
Yeah. It's so true.
Like, I don't want old people in charge because they have nothing to give back. They don't care about the
You
future.
have nothing at stake at all.
Yes.
They just go like, I'm going to the wherever, and right now I'm just trying to set up Hunter Biden to be able to afford as many sacks of blow as he wants. For
Exactly, dude. You're just trying to set up your bloodline. You
Yeah.
don't care about the future.
The rest of the time. Yeah, he's like, let me keep Hunter Biden out of this like Ukraine drama. Hunter is like,
where he worked for like an oil company in the Ukraine. What? Like,
why?
what? These are sins of omission.
I know.
That
It's so great. But I love how you just mentioned that because the other day,
yeah.
I listened to Joe Biden say one of his dumb as fuck things. Okay, I'm listening to I'm listening to
PB and J.
not PB&J. I'm listening to NPR,
Yeah.
and I'm in the car. I'm sitting in traffic. It's already annoying. And then they talk about Joe Biden. They play a clip of Joe fucking Biden, and God Almighty, did it take him about 5 minutes to say 3 to 4 sentences. He is ancient. He sounds like there are cobwebs in his speech. And
Yes.
right? He was like, well, a lot of people are disappointed in saying we haven't accomplished. I'm like, yo, you are a fucking need someone else to talk for you. Don't
Dude.
be coming out here with this Skeletor from He-Man shit. And then it's just him being like, literally saying, so what? You think we haven't accomplished anything? Your only other choice is ultra MAGA candidate. So are you going to go against us and have them rule? Or are you down to just have a Skeletor from He-Man guy who's waiting to die?
Yeah, man. I mean, his internal life, I just imagine that he wakes up, because I've got songs in my head all the time, and in his head, he's just like, it's segregation era, and he's got a barbershop quartet like playing in his head on repeat, and Strom Thurmond and him are like sharing a milkshake, and he's like, I just can't, I can't wait to be old enough to make money. Like, is there a corporation that would like to sponsor my political campaign? Because that was his vibe as a young politician. He was like, I'm just waiting to make money to doing this.
Yeah.
Like, he was always on that opportunistic.
He's never, ever had the same opinion on anything. He's a wish-washer. Like, if you look at anything he used to say in the 70s and 80s, and then you look at what he says now, they're always in glaring conflict. He's
told us from the
career
beginning.
politician,
Yeah.
and we all knew it. But for someone to say I'm a career politician is the most
Right.
disgusting thing. It's like going to a car dealership and the guy going, just so you know, I fuck people for a living.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy a car from me? And you're like, yes, I'm voting for you.
Yeah. I'm climbing the rungs, baby. Don't care about getting to the top. Just climbing the rungs. Just, I'm just here for the paycheck.
Yeah, it's
And
insane.
he's always been that. That's our Biden update this week on halal cartels. Oh my God. The masks are coming off. We're flying everywhere.
Big time.
When it comes to like the money that we were supposed to use on the pandemic that's now going to cops, I've got friends in schools and they still don't have like HEPA air purifiers. The public schools, the windows are still painted shut. So all of this money that could have been used towards like helping make things better now that the pandemic is, if not endemic, continuing. The idea of like, let's get over it and open everything up. An article came out in the New York Times talking about how, Sweden from day one was just opened up, right?
Oh, yeah, they were like, yeah.
And it clearly didn't work out well. So anyway, yeah. So I read this article in the New York Times about that. And they refused to lock down. They basically, the stats came out and they just like sacrificed their old people. And their plan was to infect as many young people as possible to spread it with the thought that there would be herd immunity.
Right.
But like, how can there be herd immunity if I did a show 2 nights ago and I asked people how many times they'd gotten COVID. And like 3 people in the audience were like, yo, this is my second time. They got it when it first came out and then they got the Grinch of Christmas Omicron.
Yep.
So if we can just keep getting it, there is no such thing as herd immunity.
Right. Because you're not immune. Oh, the logic.
So
the best part is Sweden doing that is so hilarious to me because it's very much that concept from Midsummer where they're like, when you're too old, like sacrifice yourself because you're a burden on society. So fuck off, throw yourself off a cliff, It's the same thing. It's like, look, they're gonna die, but they've lived their life now. It's time to stop
Yeah.
being a burden on society. Everyone should die.
And when they, the old people, if they used a metric and they were like, if it seemed as though they had comorbidities, they just didn't give them oxygen. They just pumped them full of morphine. So
Oh, and they were
it
like,
was
it's
like,
a
yeah,
peaceful death.
exactly. It was like in Saving Private Ryan, where the guy shot in the stomach, and they're like, just give him more Surrettes.
Yeah.
Like they
And
just,
they're just like beating him up so that he can die peacefully. Yeah.
yeah.
They know
So
he's not going to live. But that's them making the decision too, which is
r-
extremely
yeah,
Scandinavian. Also, I love how Funhouse this week was legitimately like 65% of the audience was from Scandinavia
mm-hmm,
and or Germany and where else? The Netherlands. So we just had a ton of Scandinavians.
yeah,
It was amazing.
coming to us with their mask off
Oh, and they
energy.
said they were gonna come back. So I just want to talk to them about Midsummer and find out if they just want to sacrifice their elders or what.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
But I like that this article came out because it's kind of damning. One thing though is that they only had, even Sweden had less deaths. We've had like 1 million people die here of
Of
COVID.
course, yeah.
They only had like 18,000, 19,000 people die. But I was thinking about that, and like the stats for all these European countries are so much lower. And I think part of it is because even though they were negligent with their old people, they have universal health care. So like medical standards are just higher.
Right.
Whereas here, if you get sick, you just die.
Yeah, they go like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Do you have health insurance? You're like, no. Like, even if you do, you're fucked. That's the best part. Even
Yeah.
if you have health insurance in this country, you're going broke. They're gonna fuck you for all you're worth. Health insurance is amazing. They pay. I've never ever entered a contractual relationship with any type of company the way I do with health insurance, where they go, all right, here's the deal. You have to pay $40 if you go see a doctor. But you might also have to pay $250 more if they try and overbill us. Also, so basically, you never know what you're paying, and we don't have your back. So if things heat up and you owe $150,000, you probably owe 142.
Bro, I'm watching
But pay us $2,000 a month.
I was watching Our Father. Have you seen this?
I'm
It's
gonna
on,
watch it.
okay, so it's on
I
Netflix.
know. I know. I've watched another documentary about that dude.
And I'm not even trying to like not spoil things. We're pro spoil
Yeah,
here
pro
on-
spoil on Holocaust.
Yeah, so fast forward a couple minutes if you don't want to hear this. Because Our Father, I completely understand people not trusting doctors, because this dude in Indiana, he was a fertility doctor,
Yeah.
and he did some, I guess technically, some good things with laser surgery to help women clear out their like fallopian tubes or whatever. So helping with fertility, but he was also a
In
even
vitro.
evangelical Christian,
Oh yeah.
which is important.
Right.
White evangelical Christian who believed in repopulating the earth and with white people.
Yes.
And he all these women would come to him because he was like the foremost doctor for artificial insemination. And this was like the 80s, like 81 to 95 ish. So women are coming to him and they either have their husband's sperm, or they think they're going through like menus of people's sperm donors.
Yep.
Which, by the way, sperm donor menus is eugenics. So
yeah, absolutely.
by
It's
the way,
eugenics, dude.
it's eugenics. If you're like, I just
100%.
want a dude from Harvard and he's got to be like 4 foot, 6'5".
That's 100% eugenics.
Yeah, man.
That's the whole point of it.
So it's low key eugenics. And also, there's so many people who have pre-existing conditions, some sort of health malady that might be genetic, that are amazing. Like if you look at all of the great people in society, nobody was of perfect health.
Yeah.
So it's a weird way to try to pre-select
Yeah.
for people if like they've got pre-existing diabetes or something in their lives. But that's neither
More
here
than
nor
that,
there.
dude, one thing I will say, and I won't make this tangent too long, but I will tell you this. I have a friend
I'm all
who
tangents today.
found out that he had mental illness in his family because his father killed himself when he was in his mid-20s or
What? Yeah.
late 20s. Yeah. And my friend went through one day just went through a schizophrenic episode and a bipolar. His brain just went whack on him.
Yeah.
And he may listen to this podcast, so I'm being sensitive, but um he did also donate sperm before this as a thing.
Before he knew.
Before he knew. And so there, my friend, actually, another mutual friend, was telling me the other day, like, I always wonder about the people who got that sperm, and it's a ticking time bomb. And I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, that is also part of it. So eugenics for the sake of eugenics, but you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know what's cooking like behind the scenes. So it could be
Mhm.
track star, super handsome, whatever the hell, goes to Harvard, but then they hit the age of 29 and their brain just goes like, wrong again, fool.
Yeah,
You
but
know.
they might also leave behind a masterpiece.
Right.
Not to
Exactly.
say,
Exactly.
you know,
So I'm not being prejudiced against those who suffer from like these conditions as well, because I never would. That's psychotic as well. That's a
yeah,
psychotic thought. But like you said, it's fucked up. It's eugenics. Sorry. Continue on.
not at
Continue on.
all,
Continue
not
on.
a problem. So, but these people think that these women and their partners think that they're getting sperm from like
Either the dad or that catalog
or the
lord.
catalog, the little menu.
Yeah.
But this dude was just in his office
Beating off.
jacking off. He was like doing that homemade bootleg Similac. Just,
My God. This is the best episode of this podcast.
and the nurses, right? This was before they had like cryo freeze and stuff.
Yeah.
So the nurses just carried the container of sperm in their bosoms because that's where like the body heat
Keep it
was
hot, yeah.
to keep that shit spicy, keep it warm. You don't want it you don't want it getting gelatinous. You want to keep it viscous, right? So, and then they would just impregnate these women with his sperm, and if they don't know whose sperm is going in them, that's straight up rape.
That's right.
It's rape, right? Because it's like
100%.
unconsensual violation of someone's body, and they're not. But he's like not being charged. He got fined like $500. And spoiler, I won't tell you exactly how many kids he's got, but it is less than 100 that we know of, and definitely over 50.
Yeah.
So you can watch if you want to find out the exact number that we know about today.
Yeah.
But all of his kids live within like a 10-mile radius.
Of each other.
Yeah. And he met up with a party of them in the movie, and he like showed up with a cane, looking old and feeble, but he was carrying a gun. So that's threatening that he shows up to this meeting with these kids that are clearly livid adults. So he shows up strapped, and then he goes down the list of them and interviews them. Instead of them, they're like, "We have questions for you." And he like pulls out a little notebook and he starts interviewing them to see like what their age is and what their profession is.
To see like what he
Made his
Oh
stats.
my God, dude.
And I was like, just this dude.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
I'm like, kill him immediately.
Yeah.
I myself was like, how do you not?
how do you not kill him? You know where he lives. You know who he is.
Yeah.
He is, and also doctors should kill him for undermining the credibility of their profession.
Entirely.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to. I would never promote against anyone in the medical institution
Right.
or field, but
That's
I can understand how
I would be so livid. And for him to just show up with the walker and be like, "What's cooking, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Daddy."
And and then there were guys that took their wives to this guy, and they thought it was their sperm that was in the nurse's bosom being warmed and then put into
I
their
don't know how
wives.
those guys didn't,
And they took care of kids there were no guys interviewed in this because
Yeah. because they're like livid.
yeah,
They're either in a mental institution or they're like
they've got
outside the guy's house, like in a sniper outfit.
yeah, total cuck shame probably
Yeah.
is what they're feeling,
Yeah.
and then
very
it
tough.
completely will have them. I don't think it's necessarily right, but it might change. It might affect their perception of their children that they or these people they've been raising their whole lives that they have seen as their children.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. Like if I had, um, because I had friends that were adopted and stuff, and I think everybody does. But there's that tension sometimes between adopted kids and their parents that are
R-
not biologically
Right.
theirs. But I really do think it's like whoever raised you is,
Your parents.
yeah, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I got love for or respect for anybody that is willing to like raise a child,
Hell yeah.
you
Of
know,
course.
whether it's biological or not.
Yeah.
So
Because you're their parent for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
they're still their parents.
But I believe in chosen family too. And, so many communities have had to rely on chosen family. Like it started with the black community during slavery, where you never even knew, a few generations into slavery who really was your blood relatives.
Yeah.
But, even in the queer community, there's like a necessity for a chosen family because a lot of people feel rejected by their family. So,
You got to find your tribe.
yeah, you gotta find your tribe in your family, and you pick your family, and that doesn't make them any less family, I think, than biological.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you're born with biological family, and it's like you're more familial with other people than those people. It's not me. I'm
You
saying,
like
but
your fam.
I fuck with my family. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a long time to get there, but
That was a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like this fits the theme with baby formula and with
yeah,
creepy religious Christian doctors
yeah,
who use like their Christian worldview to justify artificially inseminating countless women with their own sperm
right.
and undermining the credibility of the medical profession.
For the sake of their own eugenics project.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fact that the guy is still alive is a testament to us living in a simulation. Because
Yeah, the
how
worse
did
you
not the
are.
first person who found that out go to his house and cave his head in with a random bowling ball that they found?
Yeah. Well, maybe the kids wouldn't because they're like, it's like killing my dad, even though
Yeah.
it's not the dad that they wanted. But for the guys or the women, the
Yeah. The
moms,
moms.
right there.
Like the
Come
mom
on.
should have just, what are you going to do?
That is, I watched that on Netflix. I haven't been to the movie theater in forever.
I actually went recently.
What?
Yeah, I was at my parents' house. We were there, and I wanted to see this movie called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And the craziest thing about this is, in the beginning of the pandemic, I went out to eat with the producers of that movie and my wife because she's friends with them. So there are these two producers on that movie, and we all met in Los Angeles in Echo Park at this place called Masa of Echo Park, which I love. It's a deep dish pizza place. A lot of people hate deep dish, but fucking believe me, this place rules. Anyhow, we go there, and they're telling us about the movie. They had made a movie called Swiss Army Man. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
So Swiss Army Man, another movie. It's just these people find a corpse.
You can spoil everything for me
Yeah.
because I watch things even after I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll read the synopsis beforehand on
Yeah.
Wikipedia. I don't care.
And that's the whole thing. So they told us we're working on this crazy multiverse, like kung fu-ish movie
Yeah.
that has all types of this that, and the other thing. I couldn't make sense of what they were telling me. And then we go see this movie, and I didn't watch a trailer or read anything about it. All I knew was that everyone was excited about it, said it was amazing. So I go see the movie. The premise of the movie is this couple owns a dry cleaners, and they have a daughter. They're Asian. And the daughter happens to be a lesbian. And the grandfather lives with them. Right. And so they all
Multi-generational house.
multi-generational house. They're immigrants to America. They own this laundromat. The daughter's lesbian. And then all of a sudden, the husband of the wife takes on this new character, and very much like Neo in the Matrix. and Lawrence Fishburne's character, whatever, what was his name? Morpheus.
Morpheus.
Very much like Morpheus and Neo kind of vibe goes like, hey, listen, we're in a multiverse. There's multiple versions of you. You're all over the place in all these different universes, and now you can pop in and out of them. You just have to have a significant enough thing to happen that is out of the ordinary for you to be able to like sort of like go into another multiverse. That's the best I can explain that. But I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
So
And we're watching it.
she's hopping channels.
She's hopping channels basically like a remote, but the way to do it is you have to do something bizarre that you'd normally never do.
Yes.
And that's how you hop to the next channel. And then you download like skills from that channel and then go back to the other one. You know what I mean? So they're just flipping around multiverses, and I just had no idea what the hell was going on. And it was 2.5 hours long. So by hour and 45 minutes, I was like, I think there's only 45 minutes left. But I was losing my mind. But it was amazing. It was honestly amazing. And it was one of those movies where I had to read more. I had to just sit there and take it in and then read about it after to put all the pieces together and realize what was going on. And this was all spurred on by people telling me, you've got to see this movie. You've got to see this movie. So I decided not to watch the trailer or read about it because I talk myself out of watching movies because I don't have the opportunity to watch a movie. So if I do, it's the movie for that month. And so why would I go watch a movie that I'm not super enthusiastic or excited about seeing? And so that was the general gist of the movie. But one thing I thought that was really interesting about it was the fact that the family's daughter was lesbian, and the kind of premise of the movie was, look, you grew up with your own childhood trauma and your own struggle of coming to America, but and you in doing so forwent your own potential exciting reality. You took the
You mean that's her parents?
That's her parents. You took the guaranteed ish route and you barely got by. You gave up so much of your dreams in order to bring your family here and to have a child here. And now you want that child to flourish. And instead, you feel like um, this sadness of not having lived your own dream. But at least you have a gay kid, you know? And I thought it was really interesting.
So they were excited about that.
No, they weren't excited about the gay kid, but then I think they had to come to terms with it and be like, hey, um, yeah, like we may have a gay kid or whatever, but what does that like? Why are they so obsessed with the kid's sexuality when the kid can grow up and do whatever they want to do?
The kid can switch channels.
Apparently, I don't know.
Oh, that's.
I think
mean,
the kid
is that what
didn't
they
switch channels in it. It was just the mom and the dad, I think.
Oh, they got to. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm leaving
But
this.
now you're right.
Not
Fuck. Now
under-
you're like,
Yeah.
the kid can switch channels.
I mean, I'm leaving this conversation not knowing exactly what the movie's about yet. But are you telling me that the girl
The
is
the
able
daughter.
to hop from?
She's not. Only the parents are
Okay.
hopping about. But yeah, or maybe technically that's the whole thing. Like, you live in a multiverse. All I'm saying is I watched the movie because of the hype.
Okay.
And because Amanda's friends produced it. And it was unbelievable, Gabe. It was a just masterpiece of special effects. I was shocked by how much they were able to do. It was so spazzed out.
Yeah.
To catch up in real time was a chore almost. It was built for watching several times, the movie.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a documentary recently that really blew me away, and it was a documentary on Rick James on Showtime.
My man.
And yes, dude, my man, Rick James. And we know him, obviously we know him from I'm Rick James, bitch.
Yeah.
With Dave Chappelle. When I started teaching in the Bronx, that was the first year Chappelle Show came out. And so all the little middle schoolers were would bounce around the hallways being like, "I'm Rick James, bitch."
Of course, society, bro.
So, yeah.
Society was like, "I'm Rick James, bitch."
Yeah, but see, yeah, it's very hard to police yeah, the behavior of children when that is like all they're hearing, and it was in the zeitgeist, obviously. Then, Super Freak, we know him from Super Freak and the MC Hammer sort of cover of Super Freak, Can't Touch This. What was fascinating about this documentary is his history. Like the dude grew up in Buffalo, and his mom was a hustler, and so from the very young age, he is like in the underworld. Like he grew up, he's like he grew up on the streets, and but his mom would take him to jazz concerts, so he's like at night just absorbing music
Right,
everywhere he goes. So he's like
and
constantly,
probably amazing jazz.
yeah, just like, whatever. There's a whole scene in Buffalo. It's so he's absorbing music. He's part of like the criminal underworld. And then we know him from like the end of his career, but like he had all of these near misses as an artist that are pretty incredible to think about. And like Vietnam, he joins the military right after high school, and Vietnam is like up and running. He can't handle the discipline of like training, so he goes AWOL and he runs away to Canada. And that was where all of the the people who were leaving the U.S., the draft dodgers,
Yeah,
they were like a lot of draft dodgers were in Canada right at this time, and there's a huge folk rock scene happening where Rick James lands in Canada, and he's about to get jumped on the streets as like a 21-year-old by a bunch of like white Canadians, and this group of musicians steps up to his defense and like fights off the hate crime boys, and they happen to be the band. And when I say the band, I mean the band that backs up Bob Dylan.
yeah, the band.
The band.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, so they're there and they're like, "Rick, what's up?" And he's like, "I like music." And so they start performing. Rick starts performing at coffee shops in Canada, and he's friends with the band and Neil Young. And Neil Young and Rick are in a band together early on, and it's like a folk rock band.
This is insane.
And there's all these photos of like a young 60s Rick James where he looks like HR almost, like or like it's like he's like a black rock singer
Yeah,
fronting all of these like long-haired hippie white bands.
this is fucking crazy. I gotta watch this.
And then him and Neil Young try to go to Berry Gordy and Motown,
Yeah,
and they almost signed to Motown. And you can hear the demos, and it's like Neil Young, sort of psychedelic folk rock guitar picking, and Rick James sounding like Mick Jagger,
insane.
because like that was the influence at the time. And they're about to sign a deal, and then some salty dude who is jealous, like, drops a dime on Rick because he's AWOL. So Rick gets arrested and goes to jail. Neil Young goes out to L.A., Buffalo Springfield. So Neil Young gets huge, and Rick could have been part of that, but because of
The draft dodging thing, he
yeah,
gets like lit up.
boom. So now he's in jail. He gets out of jail. He goes back to Motown, and he's just cranking out hits, but not his own. He's like writing music
For other people.
So he's like figuring out how to be like a professional, professional at writing music and just cranking out hits. Finally, he gets sick of that, goes to LA, meets up with his boys. It's like the late 60s, early 70s, Topanga Canyon, just coked out, country rock scene, whatever they were doing out there. Becomes good friends with a hairdresser that worked with Sharon Tate. And he was invited to go to Sharon Tate's house,
The night of the Manson.
the Manson murders.
No.
But he was tired, so he didn't go that night. So he missed out on like the murder, kill slaughterhouse by like just because he decided to take a nap.
Oh my god.
It's fascinating because he had all of these. He's like the Forrest Gump
Music.
of music. And this is all stuff that he was part of before he got famous.
And did they ever address like the stories that Prince was telling about
It's called Bitchin'.
and Eddie Murphy was not
Yeah.
Prince, sorry, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
It's called Bitchin'?
It's called Bitchin', the sound and fury of Rick James.
Amazing.
So he's doing coke like most of this time.
Yeah.
But everyone is, and he's doing a lot of acid. And it's the 60s and like early 70s. He goes back to Buffalo because things are a little bit too crazy in LA after the Manson stuff. And he gets to Buffalo. He becomes enamored with who were his influence? David Bowie around this time. So like Ziggy Stardust era glam. He likes the punk stuff coming out of England. And he loves funk, which is coming out with like Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
And so he kind of synthesized those influences. And then in Buffalo, which is a pretty funky town, he gets himself together, the band that becomes his Rick James band. They start cranking out hits in the late 70s. But all of that is a synthesis. And this is kind of inspiring for any artist. It's like a synthesis of all of these various American art movements, right? You know, it wasn't just funk. And it didn't all happen at once. It was like multiple near failures and murders that
It's amazing.
he evaded, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So he stayed on.
He
and
just
then
stayed on.
Like, kept going.
And Eddie Murphy came a little bit after that. You know, that was like early 80s. Party All the Time. He started producing Eddie Murphy's music.
Yeah.
And his album, he produced the album, and that was the era that Charlie Murphy like met him.
Yeah.
And he fell into obscurity for a while. And then obviously he got in trouble like kidnapping, you know, crack.
Yeah.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Crack. Yeah.
Dave Chappelle brought him back with the show.
Yep.
But that was like his like fourth life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then he passed away.
Yeah, R.I.P. But it's an incredible documentary, and I did give some spoilers about his life. However, it's still worth watching.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and there's some cool animation and amazing, you know, archival footage of concerts.
I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Sound and Fury. Bitchin'.
Well, we did it, bro.
Dude, this was great. Hey, everybody. This has been another episode of Halal Cartels, and as always, it's me, Gabe Pacheco.
And Samir Nassim.
Yes, sir. And we please rate, review, and subscribe and tell your friends. The only way that we get more listeners is through word of mouth, to be honest. And we're both going to be at Funhouse Comedy this Wednesday night at 10 p.m. And we're there at Pete's Candy Store every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. And it's in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Looking forward to seeing you. Yo, we see so many listeners now.
Yeah,
at the
man.
show. People are coming out.
We love it when we see
love it.
people that listen to the pod come out. It was like 2 weeks ago. There were like 7 people, and I said, "Who listens to Halal Cartels?" We usually have 25 people in the room, but like the first 3 rows were all Halal fans.
I love it.
So it was pretty dope.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And now listen to the groovy sounds of Sareen Patel guiding us out of this episode. And a big shout out to Danny Feltz for helping us edit and pump up the sound
And produce.
and produce. All right. Peace, my friends.
Peace, y'all.